From the early 1600s, a massive, clandestine shipping network began to reshape global demographics and economies, fueled by a unique and brutal commodity: human beings. This was the Transatlantic Slave Trade, an industrial-scale operation moving millions across an ocean, not as willing migrants, but as stolen cargo. Between 1501 and 1867, a vast and complex infrastructure developed, linking continents through a relentless circuit of capture, transport, and sale. The operational blueprint began with European powers establishing coastal trading posts in West and Central Africa, leveraging existing regional conflicts and power structures. Captain Elias Thorne, a fictional English merchant and investor, represented the entrepreneurial drive, pooling capital to outfit voyages with trade goods like textiles, rum, and firearms. These goods were the currency, exchanged with African intermediaries and local rulers who facilitated the capture and delivery of enslaved people from inland regions to the coastal forts. The average profit margin for a successful transatlantic slave voyage could range from 10% to as high as 300%, depending on market conditions and mortality rates. Once acquired, the enslaved were held in dungeons and barracoons at the coastal forts, awaiting the arrival of European ships and suitable weather conditions for departure. The ships themselves were purpose-built or modified cargo vessels, designed to maximize the number of human beings that could be packed into their holds. Chief Omari, a composite African leader, initially collaborated, exchanging captives from rival groups for European goods, believing he was strengthening his own people against external threats. The Middle Passage was the most infamous leg of the journey, a voyage across the Atlantic lasting anywhere from 1 to 3 months, depending on weather and destination. Disease was rampant, with dysentery, smallpox, and scurvy devastating the already weakened populations, often wiping out a significant portion of the cargo before arrival. Crew members, often desperate men seeking wages, were tasked with maintaining order through extreme brutality, preventing revolts, and keeping the cargo alive enough to fetch a price. A typical human cargo of 300 to 500 people, if successfully delivered, could be sold for the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars in today's currency, a colossal return on investment. Plantation owner William Sterling, a composite figure from the Caribbean, represented the destination market, perpetually demanding more labor for his sugar and tobacco fields. Upon arrival in the Americas, particularly Brazil, the Caribbean, and North America, the enslaved were disembarked, often prepared to appear healthier for auction. The logistical efficiency of this network was staggering, with European nations like Portugal, Great Britain, Spain, France, and the Netherlands competing fiercely for market share. Over 37,000 recorded voyages comprise this vast maritime enterprise, each one a unique logistical challenge, yet united by a common, horrific purpose. By the late 1700s, the trade reached its peak, with hundreds of thousands of African people trafficked annually across the Atlantic. Port Master Thomas Eldridge, a fictional colonial official, oversaw the complex customs and quarantine procedures, ensuring the rapid processing and sale of incoming cargo. Bribes to colonial officials and port authorities were a common cost of doing business, often amounting to several £100 per vessel, ensuring smooth passage and expedited sales. The trade fostered specific financial instruments, like promissory notes and specialized insurance policies, protecting investors against losses from shipwrecks, disease, or revolt. Demand for enslaved labor was insatiable in the Americas, particularly in the booming sugar plantations of the Caribbean and Brazil, which required constant replenishment due to high mortality rates. The entire system was an interconnected web of capital, labor, and brutality, moving raw materials, finished goods, and human beings in a lucrative, triangular trade route. Ship's surgeon Dr. Alistair Finch, a fictionalized crew member, was responsible for the health of the cargo, often resorting to cruel force-feeding and exercise to maintain their market value. Revolts, though rare, were a constant threat, prompting ships to carry significant armaments and crew to maintain control, adding to operational costs. The vast scale meant an average of over 34,000 people were trafficked each year between 1501 and 1867, a relentless human flood. Insurance policies covering loss of cargo due to revolt or natural disaster sometimes led to horrific choices, like jettisoning living people for the insurance payout, an act known as throwing overboard for general average. The late 1800s saw the slow unraveling of this enterprise, driven by burgeoning abolitionist movements and changing international laws. Abolitionist Sarah Jenkins, a composite figure, organized petitions and public lectures, exposing the brutal realities of the trade, challenging its legality and morality. Great Britain outlawed the slave trade in 1807, followed by other nations, though illegal smuggling continued for decades, especially to Brazil and Cuba. Fines for illegal slave trafficking ships could reach thousands of pounds, but the potential profits from a successful illicit voyage often outweighed the risks, maintaining a shadow economy. Naval patrols were established to intercept illegal slave ships, leading to dramatic chases and confiscations, yet the vastness of the ocean made enforcement incredibly challenging. By 1887, the last recorded transatlantic slave voyages had ceased, bringing an end to over 360 years of systematized human trafficking. Amara, a fictional descendant of the enslaved, represents the enduring legacy of survival and resilience, grappling with the intergenerational impact of this historical trauma.